My name is Gerardo COF, and I'm here to talk to you today about domestic violence. This is something that's been affecting many people in various ways. ABC Primetime did like this special a few years ago where they hypothetically picked a male actor and a female actor to just go in a public park and just kind of start, slapping each other around. What's surprising is that a lot of people that were walking around didn't really call the police or anything. They were just kind of like, oh, it's not my problem. And a lady told the female, oh, you go, girl. And it's kind of odd because, in contrast to, what's his name, Mike Wilson, an author who wrote a book called Domestic Violence, where it's basically him confessing. He states that he saw his wife basically, throw 99 out of 100 bottles at his face, and he finds this very odd that people have a different perception. Basically, my proposition is that I feel that women are more responsible for domestic violence than men, basically because of claim number one, that women don't feel the same towards beating up husbands and boyfriends. They tend to brag about it a bit, and some people, like especially men, might find it a bit, hysterical. And this is really odd. A researcher by the name of Carrie Roberts, who's an analyst and a commentator on political concerns, basically feels that women feel that they need to empower themselves in order to kind of have, a control over men, because, they feel that society has been dominated by, males for such a long time, and they're not necessarily feminists, but they feel they just have to, have some sort of power. On my second claim, I think men resist the image of the problem, which is a big problem because, they don't really have, if you think about it, they don't really have any place to go to, confess, oh, this is going on in my relationship. And this really makes a problem because, women, they have a lot of places to go, but they tend to, just kind of keep it internal, which is, a big problem. Claim number 3, Mary Strauss, a co-director of the Family Research Lab, basically, interviewed a couple students, and they found out that one of the main problems with domestic violence is that it tends to be a mutual abuse, and then another problem is that partner violence. Sometimes it turns out that the female is the one who's actually, provoking the male. Claim number 4 is that several researchers from the Family Research Lab also feel that women do suffer more from violence, but however, a low percentage of men don't report this enough because they feel the police basically might mock them in some way, and the percentage is 8%. And then according to the U.S. Department of Justice, they basically say that males are very unlikely to report a violent crime because they feel it's kind of like they're like masculine. They don't want to humiliate themselves and say, oh well, I've been getting beat up by my wife. Some people again find that funny, which is very strange. Another claim is that usually in violent marriages, it's just very hard for them to break up because men tend to feel like they're in charge of the house. They gotta protect. So if they can't even get help from themselves, how are they gonna release what they're really going through? Claim number 6 is women tend to hold grudges. This might be a little personal fact, but Nancy Delsey, a author of Family Violence, basically says that women, can be dangerous, but she doesn't feel that women could be cause severe injury, which is another problem. Point number 7 basically being that again, women have a lot of places to go. Like here at our school, this month is October, which is domestic violence awareness, and they can go to workshops and talk about it. Whereas men, they're very tight, and they don't like to talk about these sort of things because they just feel it's against their protective issue in the family or just a relationship in general. And I just think that police officers or agencies should just be aware that men are being abused, whether it be verbally or physically, and that they should get some more help. Thank you.
Well, you referenced the ABC story as an attention device, but I'm not exactly sure that you've described what it is in the story that should be raising our ire. Is it the public is not paying attention to domestic violence by anybody, or is it that they only pay attention to it when it comes from one side or the other? You do make a claim basically that says that it's cause-effect claim, and you're blaming women for domestic violence, and I think that that's going to be a little bit problematic in trying to support. You've got some issues that you mentioned that maybe contribute to domestic violence, and I do think that there's a good argument to be made that says that there is a mutual relationship here, and there's been an overemphasis on responsibility in one direction or the other, or maybe there's some controversy on that, but none of those points get very well developed. You've got a string of 7 issues that you label as claims, but often they're not claims. They're just a summary of a piece of evidence, and we're not even getting the complete quote on the evidence, and I don't know what inference we're supposed to draw from that information. On the other hand, there are a couple of points where you do make some claims, but then there's no evidence to back up that claim. For instance, you mentioned women holding grudges, and I'm not sure how the information that you cite after that has any relationship to that particular point. None of the quotes are complete. In other words, it sounds like you're paraphrasing what somebody may have written or said in these circumstances, but it's usually not a complete statement. And so, as a result, we're drawing conclusions and inferences based on your conclusions and inferences, not from what the advocates or from what the researchers said. I think that's going to be problematic. You've got some very conclusionary statements that don't always advance a consistent position. You need a structure that's building up an argument a little bit more, and 7 things is too much. First of all, they need to be connected to each other. Maybe there are 3 or 4 of these points that show that women's contribution to domestic violence has been underemphasized. That would be one way of going about it. And then maybe a second point that suggests that men's role in the situation is dismissed as unimportant except as perpetrator. And I think you can make a claim about that. And then you can fit all of those examples into those individual points, and then it'll be a little bit more coherent. All right, thank you.